Let's bring him on. Whit Merrifield joining us right now on FT Live. Whit, great to see you. We'll get to all the good golf stuff first. I was about to bring this up and definitely want to get your thoughts. Ichiro is 50 years old, dude. And I don't know if you saw this pop up the other day. He pitched a complete game shutout in Japan, 116 pitches. It was against a high school girls team. Bunch of strikeouts, did well at the plate, whatever. But the key was he was chucking 86 miles an hour too. So dude's still trying to kick it. And if he could, he'd be in the show right now. How you doing, man?
My man loves baseball, huh? Wow. Hey, props, Ichiro. That's impressive.
Is 86 impressive for 50 years old, Danny?
Yeah, that's impressive for 45 years old. 50 years old, I don't know how people can do that. Be able to throw that hard. I can throw about 40 right now. So, Whit, speaking of Ichiro pitching, how many position players have you hit off of, if you've ever hit off of, and do you like it or you hate it?
I hate it, frankly. Actually, this year was the first year that I've got to hit off a position player, believe it or not. That happened 3 times. I was 1 for 3 with a double, but I haven't struck out. But first time is in Tampa, happened twice in the same game. I think I popped out, and then I hit a double, and then happened again in Boston, and the guy was throwing like, it was one of those, like, if you're facing a position player and he's lobbing it in there, and fine, that's fine. But then, like, you get 2 strikes and he wants to have a strikeout, and he like rears back and throws it hard. That's the worst. It's the absolute worst. And that's what happened to Boston. And I like fought off a 85-mile-an-hour fastball away to second base, which felt like it was 120. It sucks. I hate it, and I wish we could do something to get rid of it.
Can we do anything to get rid of it? Can we just ban it and say position players can't pitch? I mean, it is possible, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know.
Or, I would like what to. About say if
you what?
If position players get to pitch, then pitchers have to hit off the position players.
Yeah, or like just make it not count, or I don't know. It's weird. I don't love it, frankly, but I don't really see a way to avoid it. But
lastly on this, Whit, have you clocked yourself from the mound in the past several years? Like, do you know what you'd throw? No?
I don't. I actually don't even have the slightest idea. I pitched one time and I was just lobbing it in there, and but
you didn't pitch. Did you pitch in high school or anything growing up?
Nope.
Really? That's actually surprising.
Yeah. My dad was a baseball player, and he played a position, and I didn't really grow until freshman year of college, and then didn't really like fill out until 24, 25. So it's not like I had like this like great arm when I was young, like most of these big leaguers do that are studs. I wasn't really that big of a stud when I was young, so it wouldn't have been anything impressive if I did pitch.
All right, well, whatever. You're better off. It's better for body preservation anyway. So take me through the free agent life right now. What's it like? Obviously, we're not asking for every phone call right now, but just what's it like for you and the family, and this time of year too? I don't know what the Thanksgiving plans are, but how many people are going to come up to you and be like, where are you playing next year? Just for the small talk.
Yeah, it's a popular question. That's for sure. So, it is what it is. It's free agency, and it's my first time going through it. So, it's been fine. Yeah, it's been fine. The only offer I did get that I can share with you is Hyunjin Ryu offered I could stay at his place in Korea if I ever want to go play in Korea. So get that offer. But
free room and board in Korea?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right, we'll report it. We heard it here first. I like it. Are you excited about it? I know we talked about it a little bit at some point when we spoke, but are you excited about it? Are you nervous about it? Do you just want it to get done? Like, what are your kind of feelings and emotions? I think most guys, surprisingly, are like, it's cool to be here, but it's annoying, and I just want to know where I'm going.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not nervous about it at all. It's, whatever happens will happen. I'm excited in the sense where this is the only time really in my professional career that I've had any sort of say so in what my future holds. So that is exciting. But, it's just kind of a patience game. And, I feel like I'm a relatively patient man. And it's been fine. And, yeah, it's the worst part about it is just answering the constant questions about, you know, what are you hearing? Where are you going? What's all this stuff happening? So that's really only been the bad part about it.
All right, fine. We'll stop asking where you're going. I have a perfect distraction for you, Whit. You should run your own golf tournament featuring
Yeah.
big leaguers. And you should do that, in about a week. So we've been talking about this all year. Actually, we have a call later on after the show to find out, we'll swing by at least, me and someone else to say what's up and see some of the guys. Give us the lowdown now that we're just about there on the tournament. What you're excited about, any updates, any other promotion, who is confirmed that you're excited to see there. I know we can't go through every person on the list, but we're almost finally at what I think will become some history, because it's always tough to get something together and you don't have anything to show from the past, but you're going to be able to have a tournament with big names, have a successful run, and then guys are going to talk about it and it's going to become an annual thing.
Yeah, that's the goal. We think that we've had just a great the Ritz Carlton in Orlando has been just incredible helping us coordinate this, and I really think it's going to be just a really really fun 4 days. Praying the weather holds up. The initial forecast looks like it will, and so we'll keep our fingers crossed with that. That's always a big factor when you do something like this, but. Yeah, it's going to be a great event. We've had some great sponsors come on and help, some great partners with whether it's Bettinardi, Johnny O, Sunshine Beverages, and Splendor Beverages, which are actually people that I know here. Alpha Omega is supplying some wine, and Casamigos giving us tequila. What else do we have? TaylorMade. TaylorMade's been incredible to us. So, and then this company Revel is helping put on the party and really help coordinate all this, which is a super super cool company, especially if you're a college sports fan and particularly college football fan. I really highly encourage you to check out Revel, Revel. They do just an incredible job of setting you up with tailgates and parties at certain games, and it's just really really cool. And so they've done a great job of helping us and putting on this party Wednesday night, which I think is going to be really cool. The tournament's going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Tee time's going off day one, and then after that, it'll be based on score. We've got two divisions. We've got a net division, which is handicapped, and then a gross division, which is just raw score. Prizes going to, I believe, top 7 in the handicap division, top 3 in the gross division. The top half being a monetary prize, and then the others being, our sponsors, what they have donated to us, like a cool Bettinardi customize. You can customize your putter. You get a custom putter fitting experience at Bettinardi. Just some cool things like that hopefully guys will like. It'll be a good event, and it can continue to grow, because the more it grows, obviously the cooler the prizes can get, the more money guys can make, and the bigger competition it'll be. And that's really what this is about, is just having guys that love to play golf, particularly baseball players, because that's what we are, getting together and competing in a sport other than baseball, which when it comes down to it, all of us are competitors at heart. We're baseball players, but even more so than that, we're competitors. So it should be a fun event, and looking forward to seeing everybody next week.
So, Whit, do any of the pitchers play during the season on their off days? And if so, does that piss you guys off? Because it sounds like you love golf.
I was pretty much the only one that played in Toronto. It was kind of wild, frankly. Some guys played during spring training with me, but during the season, like Jordan Romano, he would love to. he would love to play during spring training. And then once the season started, he told me he had a European body and he needed to take it easy on his body during the season. So
Wow.
I was sure to let him hear about that. Chris Bassett actually would go play with me during the season, so that was always good. And I mean, even I'll even go play the morning of a game if we're somewhere like in a cooler climate like Seattle or LA or somewhere where it's cool in the morning. You take a cart. I mean, you're not doing anything super taxing. And actually, I would like to go back and tally up my stats from times that I played before a game because I guarantee you they're pretty good. It seems like I would get 2 hits every time I would go play golf. So maybe I should start doing it more.
Yeah,
Dude,
that baseball
crazy,
probably
yeah.
looks huge after the golf ball, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest part was all my frustration got like taken out on the course, and so I was like just like relaxed and just like out there just playing, and it turned out to be a good thing.
And a lot of guys have said that, so I'm surprised that Toronto just didn't have more players. You would think on almost every ball club, there's at least 3 to 5 guys that are hooked. I thought that would be the case. Like if I pulled most of the league, most teams have a group where they're like, hey, we got an off day, or hey, we got some time in the morning at a place where it's a decent climate. Let's get after it. So was it like that with Kansas City? Did you guys have a crew?
No, I mean I'm sure it varies team to team. Like in KC, we had 8 guys that would go at any time. It seemed like, and then in Toronto when Ernie Clement and David Schneider were up, they were the same. They would go play with me at any time. So it just depends on who you got on the team, and we just didn't have a ton of golfers.
Have you gotten back to the golf tourney for a sec? First off, can you list? I know we've talked about some names that were confirmed. Is there anyone we should be excited about to follow from a major league player perspective? And have you gotten any of those, I don't know, kind of weird questions where like a player texts you something random like, hey, can I bring my own clubs? Or I don't know, hey, what time am I playing? I don't know, something like that. Are you getting those?
Ernie's bringing his own caddy, which was unique. He's his buddy's caddying for him. So I mean, that's pretty much the only strange question that I've gotten. But we got a bunch of really really good golfers playing. Spolte's playing in it. And everyone's heard about him, how good of a golfer he is and him doing these qualifiers and trying to get into some of these professional tournaments. So excited to play with him. Eric Gagne is playing, who's supposedly just an incredible golfer. He's a member at a course in Arizona called Silverleaf, where a bunch of pros are. It's a really, really good golf club. And I think last time I played there, I saw his name up on like club championship, match play championship boards a good bit. So he's quite the player. So I'm excited to see him play. Tyler Clippard, supposed to be a great player. Nick Punto, great player. So these are some of the guys that I know are quality golfers, which at the end of the day, that's like for me as a guy that wants to be that good. I'm excited to see them play. And then you got guys like Jordan Romano, who I'm excited to take a lot of his save money he made from last year. So there's all sorts of dynamics that are going on you got teammates that you're looking for side action with. You got these elite golfers you're looking to measure up to, and we'll see what happens. The PNC is the week after, and I believe majority of the grandstands will be up, which will be really cool for some of these guys to play a golf course with grandstands on it. So.
Yeah, so Griffey Jr. lives there in Orlando. We got to get him hooked up with you, and then Tiger Woods can get hooked up with you, and then, dude, your celebrity list will be even better than it is already.
Yeah, so like I said, I think the first year of doing this, a lot of guys didn't know it was going on, and so when we reached out with these invites, they were busy. It's for a lot of baseball players, this is wedding season. So a lot of guys were either going to weddings, were in weddings. So there's a lot of that happening. And then probably some uncertainty as to what this really was. And so And then, frankly, like from our end, we only know like a certain number of guys that are golfers, and so we reach out to them and try to get them to reach out to guys they know that are golfers. But I just saw Fred McGriff last week at Pebble Beach, and he's a huge golfer. So didn't know that, and I got to know Fred last year with the Blue Jays a good bit. So he'll be getting an invite next year, and just stuff like that. Like we just weren't sure who all to reach out to, and hopefully after this year it goes well, and that word can spread, and the tournament can grow, and it'll be a better event next year than it was this year.
It'll be the hype video, right? You'll have the hype
Yeah.
sizzle, and that'll get shown around, and then guys get jealous, and then they want to go, right? Like hotels and certain destinations have it down to a T. So look out for that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, dude. So back to free agency. Not you, but Shohei Ohtani's a free agent. We talked about him, a little bit on the show. So I'm curious, obviously, not from the free agent perspective, but from media availability perspective, what are obligations for players, if any? We get this question a lot from fans. They're like, is there anything in a contract for a player that he has to speak? Some people were disappointed that Ohtani didn't speak the other day after winning the MVP. Obviously, he doesn't want to have the conversations like we're having, right? Like, hey, where are you going? How you feeling? All of that. Okay. So just curious, is there anything for players that says that they have to speak, and not just the offseason, but even just after games? And if not, do you think there should be? Because, if someone doesn't speak, and I'm not just referring to Ohtani, if a player is like, hey, I don't want to talk to the media for a while, then someone else is going to have to kind of cover for whatever the topic is, right?
Yeah, I mean, during the season, I don't know the exact stipulation, but I think there is some sort of bylaw or something in our contract that says we have to engage with the media to a certain extent. Usually, if you're pretty decent about talking to the media, and then after one game you're like, I got to get out of here. My family's here. I want to go. Like, I want to be quick out of the locker room today. I'm not going to talk to the media today. That's there's no problem with that. But as far as doing it like every day, I don't think you can get away with that. But in the off season, when you're a free agent, you don't have a binding contract with another team. So I don't think there's anything that can keep a player from just being like, you know what, I'm not going to talk about what's going on. And frankly, I think that's a pretty good move from Shohei.
Right. Just lay low and stay quiet until you end up with a ball club, and then you can get after it.
Yep.
You may not want to answer this, but we got a question from a fan who said, just curious, when a player plays for the Jays, do they get paid in Canadian or in US dollars?
It's US dollars, but
okay.
Just kind of a side note on that, funny story is in Kansas City, Danny Duffy, who's notorious prankster and just treat of a human being. We were going up to Canada, and he had I'm trying to think of who it was. It was Tim Hill. He had Tim Hill convinced that Canadian currency was called Canado, and that you didn't shake people's hands in Canada, you saluted them. And so when we got to the hotel, I think Tim saluted the bellman and like gave him some American money and said, "Sorry, this isn't Canada," and it was just so that's just my side note on Canadian currency. But no, we get paid in US dollars.
That is incredible. Did he ever let him know that he was fucking with him?
Yeah, but not until I got there.
You know what blows my mind with some of the pranks like that, because we obviously get those stories almost every week on this show, stuff like that, Whit, is that guys don't just, hit up Google. It takes maybe 10 seconds to look up what Canadian dollars are?
Well, there's a level of trust that we build in the locker room. And then you kind of go after the right type of guy. I love Tim Hill. He is one of my favorite teammates I've ever played with. And that man is he does not have a care in the world. He's always happy. but he's kind of on his, because he's in his own world. And Duffy being the left-hander that he is, having Tim under his wing, he told Tim that, and Tim was probably like, okay, I guess that's how it goes. He didn't think twice about it.
Danny, the person was probably like, "Oh, that's cute. He's trying to call it Canada." Canadian
I thought it was clever,
cool.
like for Duffy to come up with that, call it Canada. I thought that's pretty clever.
I'm thinking to myself, how did nobody ever think of that before? I mean, he should have kept it going for sure.
I think the currency should be called Canada.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree. It sounds good. All right, we'll work on that. Whit, so give us the lowdown on the rules committee talks lately. So we've talked about it in the past. I know you were a part of it. And let's start here because you were in the news, and I don't think you've spoken yet publicly about it, but you made some suggestions. Yeah, you were in the news. I saw your name pop up a couple different times saying.
What did I do?
So it's all positive. They said, hey, a player actually spoke, and there was some listening going on in the rules committee conversation when Whit brought up, I at least know one of them, the blocking the base situation where you just drop the knee down and try and hurt a dude. And they were like, surprisingly, it comes from a guy that actually has been a part of the middle infield. And I'm like, yeah, what? You think just because he's there and he can't bring up a rule like that? You know what I'm saying? So curious how that came up, and give us everything that you can from that conversation with the rules committee.
I mean, this came about probably like one of the first couple calls we had with them last year. We were talking about all this stuff, and on one of the calls they were just talking about if anybody has anything that ever comes up that you guys think needs to be addressed, let us know. And I think I had probably just gotten thrown out because I couldn't get to a bag because a guy had his knee dropped. That's probably what sparked it. But it's like if we have all this stuff at home plate to protect guys, and then you hear from coaches and base runners, hey, like we had film on guys, like certain guys drop knees, and if they drop a knee, you go late and you slide into their leg, and that's just, that's just not going to be good. One day it's not going to be good, and we're just trying to avoid that. So fortunately, like for myself, I wear these sliding mitts, but you look at Mike Trout a couple years ago blew his thumb up sliding into a base because I think he couldn't get to the part of the bag, so he had to try to hook around it, thumb grabbed. So we're just trying to avoid injury, trying to keep it a clean game, and it just, as a base stealer, you want to put a foot there, fine, but you drop a knee in front of the entire bag, and you're putting in harm's way into the guy sliding into the bag, and as well as the fielder could potentially get seriously hurt. So trying to avoid that.
A couple things here with the MLB committee has more members. Number one, is there a reason why? And number two to that is, you being with the Blue Jays, and Mark Shapiro, president of the Blue Jays, who is former minor league director with Cleveland when I played there. And I love that dude. Does that make you a little hesitant at all to maybe speak your mind about certain things?
No, I mean, we speak our mind, and we aren't shy about doing that. It's, I mean, the 6 versus 4 thing, it's frustrating. A lot of times we feel like these calls go really well, and we get our point across, and it's heard. And then, we'll get an email a week later with either what they're about to propose or whatever is this, and it's like, it's the exact thing that they started with, and we were like, okay, this is not good, we got to fix this is a no. And it's just it just seems to always be what they want, to what their initial start line was, especially for the big topics, not everything, but the latest thing, the big thing with the league is shortening the length of the game, the average length of the game, right? And we all agreed that the game was starting to get a little too long, but we're the ones playing, and so we're trying to find ways to shorten the game, to keep the game clean, keep the game at its whole baseball, and not try to like make new rules to make this like kind of like hybrid baseball game, and keep people healthy. So it's sometimes frustrating because like I said, we're the ones playing, we're the ones that have to go through this, and so we're the ones that really know what is hurting us and what is benefiting us, and so when we have these conversations, and they after year one they're wanting to make more tweaks to the pitch clock and certain things, we're like, guys, listen, it's been 1 year. Like, let's just pump the brakes, and we've got guys getting hurt, pitchers getting hurt. Like, let's let our players adjust to this new style of baseball that you guys have forced upon us. And so hopefully, I mean, at least we get in a room and talk it out. I feel like we're heard at sometimes, and sometimes I feel like they just entertain what we're saying.
And we had Scherzer on the other day, and he spoke at length about some of this. Obviously, I know he's not in those combos, but he used to be a part of the executive subcommittee on the players' side. So the two things he brought up were, one, the commissioner said what you just mentioned. Hey, we just made a bunch of tweaks. We're probably not going to do anything for next year. And then obviously word already starts to come out that they actually might do some things for next year. Max, of course, was passionate about the pitch clock. He still feels like there's tweaks that he wants to make to it, and the ones that they're suggesting feel like he's not being heard and other pitchers aren't being heard. What he brought up was an extension of what you're saying. He brought up some specific doctors that he named publicly that are involved in baseball, like Keith Meester. And he said that they mentioned, sure, the elbow injuries aren't necessarily more in quantity, but he said they're seeing more severity in terms of the injuries that are popping up this past season. Did you see any of that? And what do you think? I know you're not a pitcher, but seeing that is certainly concerning. And then I'm just wondering where we find a happy medium here. I'm not necessarily blaming the pitch clock. It more has to do with hearing the people that are actually on the field, that are actually experiencing the baseball game, and making sure that we keep players on the field as best as possible, because injuries suck.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If you want your car to go as fast as it can, but you redline it for 3 hours, the transmission is going to fall out, and it just makes sense that we're just pushing these guys to go, because I mean the way pitching is now, it's 100% every time, and so now we're having them do it quicker. It's a bad recipe, in my opinion. But again, I'm not a pitcher, but it's I've found like there's certain at bats where I'm more worried about getting, like, certain pitchers, I should say, I'm more worried about getting back in the box than I am to kind of try to figure out what just happened with the last pitch and who I'm facing, and like kind of what the sequencing is and what I should be looking for. Where I step out and I start thinking about that, I'm like, oh shit, there's 10 seconds left. I got to get back in. And now I'm hitting, and it's kind of blind, frankly. And that's not how we're supposed to play at the highest of levels, especially in this game of baseball. There's a lot of mentality that goes in it. And look, I get fans have been frustrated with the length of the game, and we're not saying they're wrong. Players don't want to play in 3-hour games either, but this is where that committee comes in, where they think they have a way, the ownership and the commissioner's office think they know how to shrink the game 30 minutes, no problem. Okay, but that doesn't line up with the way we think we should be playing the game, and we have other ideas on how to maybe shrink in the game. And so that's where this rules committee is supposed to be able to engage in that and try to come to a mutual solution, where, more often than not, it's not mutual. But sometimes it is, but more often than not, it's not. That's why they have 6 and we have 4. If they wanted true mutual solutions, it'd be 5-5.
Max mentioned, having 5-5 or 6-6, whatever, and then having the ump be the decision maker, because otherwise he's like, you're gonna have stalemates too. So would that be a way to consider it, being that the umps are on the field too, and they can kind of hear both sides and be maybe somewhat neutral?
Yeah, I mean, Bill Miller's the umpire that's got the vote and is the one voicing most of the opinions of the umpires. And look, they're obviously their big thing is this challenge system, the robot umps that are on the horizon. They're fighting hard against that, which frankly I would be too, and I am as my individual self. I don't think robot umpires are a good thing for the game, but they're pretty. Bill's been pretty objective about most topics, so I think that's probably a good idea because I think umpires kind of fall in the middle on certain things. They have a good feel for the game, so that's another thing that we've talked about at length is with these certain rules about like guy calling timeout when he's hitting and having the clock just automatically just reset to 15 seconds instead of giving the guy a second to like regroup. Umpires have a good feel. Well, I should say most umpires have a good feel of okay, this guy's actually like regrouping or this guy is just stalling and trying to like fuck with the pitcher or whatever it may be. And so they're like, all right, let's go get back in the box, start the clock. And that's what we're saying. Like, give us these kind of rules. Let the umpires take a feel of the game and a feel of what's going on to help enforce it in whatever way seems best. And because if you got certain black and white rules, there's going to be times where it just doesn't make sense that's a penalty, which is called a ball, or a penalty, which is called a strike. But yeah, again, that's something that as players we understand, and as the ownership group, maybe not so much.
Yeah, they're not playing. So last one from me on this, Whit, is there anything that has been brought up in like the recent meetings that you think should be further pursued, or that you think guys should be heard from? I mean, I think it's good sometimes to put in the public domain. There's plenty of players we talk to that have similar wishes, but they're not in on these combos. So is there anything that's come up where you feel like the other side's listening, or maybe they're not, but it's a good suggestion that has stood out to you, whether it's a new change or a tweak to something? Is there anything that you'd like to see that we should be thinking about and kind of discussing during the off season when we've got time to go through things?
Well, the big thing is the game, like in April, was kind of perfect scenario. Like 2 hours and 36 minutes or something was the average game. And then as the year went on, like it got a little bit longer, and then by the end it was like 2:44 or 2:46 or something like that, like 10 minutes longer than it was in April. So trying to get back, right? Because they want that 2 hour and 30-minute game. That's like the perfect time. So they're trying to cut more time out. And we're like, look, guys, like I said earlier, it's been 1 year. Like it's probably not because they think guys are abusing the pitch clock in certain ways. And it might just be because it's August and it's hot and guys need a couple extra seconds in between pitches. They want to let that clock go down a little bit longer before they throw that next pitch because they're tired. They throw 130 pitches, 140 pitches. It's 95 degrees outside. Like, there's more reasons than just solely people abusing the pitch clock as to why games probably lengthen for another 8-10 minutes. Pitchers are always more ahead early in the season. Hitters have caught up. Pitcher stuff kind of is really sharp. It's like gets really sharp and then kind of flattens out and then maybe goes down a little bit toward the end of the year, which is beneficial to hitters. There's so many reasons that the game could lengthen out, but they want that 2 hour and 30-minute mark. So they want to shorten the pitch clock more. And we're like, well, let's find other ways to do it. And one of the ways that was brought up was making the challenge system more like the NFL challenge system, which I think is going to continue to be talked about because I do think it's a good idea. where instead of guy slides in a second, he's called safe or he's called out. Now it's like, hold on, let me look and see. That's 15, 20 seconds. Why don't we just do it like the NFL is, where you get until the next pitch is thrown to make your challenge? And if everything's all good, we don't have that like 20-second pause to wait for the guy on the phone to tell him, no, he's safe, or no, he's out. And so that happens, 7, 8 times a game between both sides. And it's about 15 to 20 seconds each. That's 2-3 minutes right there. So just little things like that, that, like I said, is from a player's perspective, we know what is kind of like a time killer and what is just going to have to be part of the game. And so we hope to continue to have like those discussions as to like, let us tell you where we think there's too much dead time, and then let's try to figure out how we can shave a couple minutes off each game, because you guys want quicker games and fans do too. And like I said, nobody really disagrees with that. We're just trying to make it healthy and clean, and so that's our biggest fight.
Yeah, I like that. And also, I'm not going off hard data, which I know is everything for the league, but there's usually more scoring in offense when it gets hotter. So that usually leads to a little bit longer game. There's usually more pitching changes, I think, towards the end of the season too. So that leads to a longer game. So that could be a factor, right? There's a lot of those like April, right, Danny? Like 2-1 games. It's cold as hell. There wasn't much offense, right? Like that is a factor too in some of this.
Yeah, Whit's right. I think the pitchers are ahead a little bit at the beginning, but then the hitters make adjustments. The pitchers don't make those adjustments as quick, and then the games get longer because of more offense. But he said it perfectly. You don't want to make this an unhealthy sport just because you want it to go quicker. It just doesn't make sense. There's other ways that you could shorten the game without, possibly hurting the players out there that are making you money playing this game.
Yeah. And if you look at like the quickest games, their starting pitcher goes into the 7th, and then you got 2 relievers come in the 8th and 9th or whatever it is, and so we got to figure out how to incentivize teams to keep their starters in a little bit longer. And the league actually knows that and talked about it. And I heard Manfred say something like, I don't know, a month or 2 ago about maybe getting rid of the opener. But so they want the starting pitcher to pitch more, and I can tell you how that's not going to happen, and that is shortening the time in between pitches for the starting pitcher. That's not going to help get him longer into the game. So, there's, like I said, there's ways it can happen, and hopefully these conversations are productive, and we're not just jumping the gun because we're trying to find 5 minutes here and 7 minutes there, and we can continue to have good conversations and come to some sort of agreement, even if it's not this year, which I don't think it has to be this year. But if it's not this year, we could find something that we both agree on and can be better for the game, because we do want the game to get better. We want the fans to like the game. We want to bring more eyeballs to the game. We want all of that. That's mutual, from players to owners to the commissioner's office. But we'd like to help, and we feel like we're not getting the help as much as we should.
Yeah, trust me, when the vets come on this show and this stuff comes up, this is what happens. There's passion there because you guys are living it every single day. So I'm with you, man. Thanks for a little insight there. And we will see you in Orlando in about a week, dude. Appreciate you, obviously, all year with us. So have a happy Thanksgiving with the fam, and then make sure you're ready to go, all right?
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, fellas.
Thanks, Whit. We'll talk to you soon, dude.